Unit 4, History and Rights, page 114. The struggle for independence. This struggle started when the Europeans thought of visiting the subcontinent for the purpose of trade. During the 16th century, it was the Portuguese who came here just for the purpose of trade. They landed on the west coast of India and they were mesmerized to see a variety of spices, fruits, different color and texture of fabric that was being woven here, ornaments and jewelry, and even the locals were very hospitable towards them and they treated them with respect. During their first visit, they exchanged goods with the locals and went back to Europe. The first among the Portuguese was Vasco da Gama, who came to India in 1498. He landed at Calicut on the west coast. Soon after him, Sir Thomas Roe came to the court of Emperor Jahangir as an ambassador of Queen Elizabeth I. Later in the same year, Queen Elizabeth gave permission to start East India Company in the subcontinent. The purpose of the company was to compete with Dutch and French traders. And soon after this, many traders started settling in the subcontinent. Now by 18th century, the Mughal Empire started to weaken. It started to lose power as many Muslim nobles were fighting among themselves. So the minor rulers who were supporting them, like the Rajputs, the Maharathas and the Sikh, they became restless. And from the middle of 18th century, the British started to gain power, and this was the beginning of their 200 years rule in the subcontinent. By the middle of the 19th century, the British had complete control over the subcontinent. When they came to power, they realized that they have to build roads in the area. Then they set up the biggest railway networks of the time across India. And they constructed large buildings in the subcontinent. So they introduced their language, architecture, politics, and their ideas in the subcontinent. Now they were doing so many things for the people, but still the people were not happy. The locals of the subcontinent were not happy. They never thought of living under a foreign power, somebody else coming from another place and ruling over them. This was a nightmare for them. So can you think what made locals unhappy?